Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. No,
No, you're fired. Never mind.
Cut.
Hey, everyone. This is not your typical episode of Minions and Misfits. We do thank you for tuning in, though, but we're going to do a little bit of a retrospective on season one. We thank all of you guys for listening. If you've gotten to that point, we're just thankful to have you.
All 25 of you.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of you skipped straight to that point because as soon as we released the finale, like 60 people downloaded it all
Like
at
immediately.
once.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It broke our internal records, which are not
We
super
were very
impressive.
confused.
Yeah.
So thank you, question mark.
And please.
And episode one has passed the 100 download mark.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fun.
We're almost at
So
600
if you're listening
downloads
to this
overall.
as it goes live, then you are part of a very elite group.
Of about 20 people.
Yeah. But yeah, we just kind of wanted to talk through the origins of this podcast, how we got here, and then just kind of talk about season one as a whole. And if the boys had any questions for the DM about, what different things as we go on, or just talking through like, what all went down, and just kind of talk about the podcast. And then also the future of what we're going to be doing next.
Yeah. Just imagine us all sitting down by the fire, talking to you, sitting a little bit too close for comfort, but
I wish we were sitting around a fire right now.
I know. We're all sitting around a fireplace.
Best I can do is
mind.
editing in fire crackling noises when we're done with this.
I feel like that'll make most people think they have hearing issues, but for that reason,
just put
maybe
a really
What's wrong with my headphones?
Put a really light tinnitus ring just behind everything.
It's like the opposite of ASMR.
Yeah, It's reverse ASMR. Also, this will be very much unscripted, so prepare for little things like this constantly.
That may
Even
shock
less
you.
scripted than our episodes usually are.
Yeah, which is very much also not scripted. But we have Cam to help edit those down, which this will be a little more freeform than the episodes, I imagine.
Cam's gonna have such a hard time doing this one.
No, he just leaves it. He just
I
doesn't touch
think
it.
I'm just gonna have an easy time with
Oh,
this.
wow,
I just have to sync the claps and then just
he
post
syncs
it.
the claps and posts it immediately.
Don't even cut the claps out. Just
Yeah,
post
just
it.
leave it all in.
Not quite synced up either, just like no editing.
Yeah, it makes you appreciate what he does in our normal episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to be kind of moderating this, so I'm just going to be asking a few questions. If you have any questions you'd like for us to answer, then you can always send those in, or if you have any recommendations or things you want to see on the show, it's never a bad time to follow us on any of our socials or email us. All of those links are in our description, so please do tell your friends and follow us and like us and do all those good things. They really help us out and encourage us.
Yeah, we asked for
And leave
questions,
us
and y'all
reviews.
did not deliver, so here we are, asking our own questions.
That was just a little bit sad they said. They didn't have to know that. But
Listen, this is a behind the scenes episode. They deserve some behind the scenes information.
well, with that being said, we want to take just a few short minutes, and again, this isn't going to go too long, but just explain how this all got started. I don't know. Do any of you boys want to take it away, or shall I?
Well, I was not even involved in the original origins of this, so y'all take it away.
Truth. I guess I'll start. So, I love podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. I listen to them basically 24 hours a day. It's kind of an issue.
We've tried to intervene.
Yeah, they've had interventions. I've just run out screaming.
We actually started this podcast strictly to make him stop listening to other podcasts.
Joke's on them. I'm listening to Adventure Time through every episode. No, but so I love podcasts. I love role-playing games, specifically Dungeons and Dragons, just being honest. And I always thought it'd be really cool to do one, but I always thought, like, wow, there are a million, all starring white boys who look just like us. And that is still true. But then I was listening to another podcast.
Still white.
Oh, yeah, no.
A lot of them do sound way worse than we do, which is one advantage we have. How many podcasts have you listened to where you get like 10 minutes in and you're just like, oh man, I cannot stand
No,
these
I've
people's
literally had to turn
voices.
some of them off because if it's an actual play and they literally have just a mic in the center of the table and it's like, I can't.
D20.
But I was listening
Rolls the
to
dice on the mic.
But I was listening to a podcast where one of the hosts was saying basically that they would do it without ever being paid. They just liked it that much. And I was like, you know what? I could do that. So I just really want to do it. And then
guess what? We are doing it.
We are, yeah. Well, actually, I connected with Cam. So one of the things that we all share is we are all married and our wives are very close friends with one another. They were all roommates in college. So our boy Dillon, our DM, was getting married. My wife and I traveled to Kansas City because she was in the wedding, and I came because I'm a supportive husband, and I knew Cam.
He's a good husband.
I love the people, but we weren't as close.
We barely knew each other.
We barely knew each other, but all of our wives kept telling us that we were all so similar, and the joke kind of was we just need to start a podcast together. And then when
then it stopped becoming a joke.
Yeah,
right. I think like immediately.
me and Cam hung out all the weekend, and we both kind of mentioned like wanting to do a podcast. And we were like, oh, we could do it together. What do you want to make it about? I like goblins. I also like goblins.
We love goblins.
What's the other thing that we have in common? We love goblins.
Oh, yeah. We all love goblins.
I think my very first words to Dillon in person.
No, literally, he walks up to me at it's like day of the wedding, like we're setting up stuff. He walks up to me, he's like, "Good to meet you. We need to do a podcast."
Yeah, just so you know, we're all starting a podcast together.
Yeah, FYI, we're all doing a podcast together.
We'll discuss
I had no choice
later.
in the matter.
I'm currently sitting with a gun to his chest, so
yeah, it's
literally
fine.
no choice.
It's all fine.
Yeah, no.
You get accustomed to it eventually.
Yeah, as long as it's not on his diaphragm, it's fine.
Yeah, just don't press on my vocal cords.
Yeah,
it was funny because like Sam said, all of our wives were college roommates, and they were also all in each other's weddings.
It's true.
So.
Yeah.
I started referring to it as the round robin wedding tournament because eventually all 6 of us convened in one place for the final wedding.
Yeah, here we all are at long last.
Right, and that was sort of when me and Sam, when we were taking a break from setting up for the reception and stuff, we just started pitching ideas for what kind of podcast we could.
Yeah.
We very quickly settled on a D&D or role-playing game podcast.
Mm-hmm. And about a couple days later, like I get a message from both of you saying, "Hey, we're doing a podcast. It's about goblins. Do you like the idea?"
Were you still on your honeymoon when we sent that?
I don't remember. Probably.
I feel really bad if you were, but I think you might
fine.
have been.
That's fine.
And so, like a couple weeks from there is when we figured out the core idea of exploring.
Yeah, it moved shockingly fast, honestly.
Yeah, what do the dungeon? What did the low-level monsters do when the adventurers aren't around killing them?
Yeah, because the only time you ever see them is in the context of, oh, there's a big group of little monsters. I need to get through them to my objective. But they have lives, and that was the whole thing. We're like, okay, goblins are perfect. We all love goblins. They're the quintessential D&D monster that you just run through. So
they're the perfect. They're the perfect one to explore early on.
Yeah, so that's kind of how this all got started.
I think the one thing we did really want to make sure, because we all listen to tabletop role-playing podcasts.
Many podcasts.
Oh yeah, big fans. But one trend is that no matter which one you listen to, most of them you can't really show your family or something because they're very R-rated in language mainly, and I'm a Christian and the boys here are Christians, and so while of course our podcast is not just meant for solely Christians, it is something
we get dark. We
do, yeah. I mean, and good stories can be dark, but we felt like we didn't need to add in the language. We could keep the language and even some of the content
strictly swear free.
Yeah. But while still having legitimate dramatic beats, and I think you can still tell a good story. You don't have to be a Disney story in order to be a Christian story. Right. Obviously, I think there are a lot of really great ones that prove that wrong. But
a part of that process was that we're not explicitly a Christian podcast because that's not what this is about. This is about storytelling. But because we are Christian, that's going to bleed into everything that we do. And so that was a lot of the discussion ahead of time was like, the problem a lot of Christian media falls into is it prioritizes being Christian versus being good.
To quote Hank Hill, you're not making Christianity better, you're making rock and roll worse.
Oh, thank you for that reference. Wow. I greatly appreciate that.
Well, I think
it's the same concept here.
What it comes down to is, art. What art really is I think it communicates the human experience, and so therefore it communicates truth. And I love Lord of the Rings because it communicates fundamental human truths despite being a fantasy story. And if we do art well, we're communicating a truth, and we all believe a similar truth that is to do with Jesus. And so our truth is going to come out of there, but we're not going to make the main
We're not going
character.
to propagandize.
Yeah,
Yeah. We're
no.
not going to pull a
No.
C.S. Lewis.
No.
We're going to pull a Tolkien.
Oh, but don't be hating on my boy
Yeah.
I'm
Lewis.
not hating on him, but I'm just saying there's no Jesus allegory in ours.
Yeah,
Right.
Tuck was not a Jesus character.
What? No?
No.
Nor was Gorfit or Weehawk.
Wow. You guys are blowing my mind with these insights.
Maybe Gorfit Jr.
Corver Jr. might have been.
Well, on that note, we're gonna kick it over. I think it's time to move on to the first question because we're already 10 minutes in.
On that topic, though, before we do move on,
Oh, yeah,
part of that philosophy is bled into exploring these little guys is that all life has meaning and a fundamental value, and even the little guys that we're talking about that you forget about. That was kind of why we wanted to go into this. So
Right.
I think, and what I wanted to prove with Gorfit is, Goblin society clearly is not a great place.
a mess.
Yeah, but when you introduce fundamental truth, like for Gorfit, it was that value of life and the value of seeing people even though they look different than you. When you introduce those truths, and that changes people. The truth changes people, and that what happened with Gorfit, and the lack of truth is what really cursed out my people in the Morkboard thing. I made them each just so they all personified an evil, and that evil leads to destruction, which I think is I don't know. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so that's part of the storytelling.
We also just wanted to represent that goblins, like any other group, are not a monolith. Not every goblin is the same. Not every goblin is going to exactly fit the description of a goblin in the monster manual or whatever, Fiend Folio or anything like that.
Whatever you're using.
They're characters that have personalities and arcs, and they grow and they change.
Individuals. Wow.
Who'd have thought?
Yeah.
Not a concept.
And I think what's really beautiful about season 1, and then we can move on, is that it doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what you're born into. If you make those right choices and if you follow what the truth really is, you can create something really beautiful with your life, even if your prospects are not great.
Like the pile.
Like the pile.
Yeah, you can build a pile.
All right. Well, my first question is going to kick it over to Dillon. So Dillon.
This is from Gary. No, not actually. Sorry.
This is so this one is about our first season. So you're the one who came up with the pile and the world our characters inhabit. So once you knew we were with that, once you found out that we were playing goblins and that was going to be the main idea, how did you kind of build a story and a world from that? Like, what was your inspiration or what?
That's a fun question.
Yeah.
So I have always been a big goblin boy. And so my initial thought was like, all right, I'm going to go dig into all the goblin lore. And then I was like, wait a second, I can make my own goblins. I don't have to do just the goblin lore. So I definitely took inspiration from like classic goblin traditions and everything. And I did build the society around that. But my thought for the season was I want to make an environment that can be changed, that can have our characters grow in, that can challenge them in different ways. And so whenever I DM, all of my DMing is based on character interaction, really more than anything else. My goal is to provide an environment to which to explore characters, because that's the most fun part of all of role-playing, in my opinion. So really my strict goal was I want to make a world that Gorfit and Weehawk can change. For better or for worse, depending on their decisions. And I want those decisions to have consequences on every end. So my DMing is like 50% planned, 50% improvised, because you can never account for everything when you're playing a role-playing game. Ever.
No plan survives first contact with the goblins.
Absolutely not. Or really any player. So, yeah. No, a lot of just fun goblin times and a lot of like, okay, how does the world work and what can they do to it?
I think you did a great job. I mean, it was funny because I feel like a lot of season 1 is us saying, "What if?" And then it actually this should have never worked, and yet it did. And I think that was really cool. Well, then for Cam, so Cam, you played Weehawk, who was the Goblin Ranger. How did you come up with that character? Like, what was your inspiration, or did you always want to play a ranger? Like, how did that character creation work for you in your mind?
So Weehawk was a character that I had used in an early kind of proto form before. I actually created him when my wife Alexis decided she wanted to DM for me a solo game.
Ooh,
So I
one-on-one
was like,
D&D.
what if I created this goblin that had sort of semi incorporated himself into big folk society as like a hunter slash bounty hunter, and his favored foe would be big folks, so humans, elves, um, and the name, he was always named Weehawk.
Oh, really? Even from the start on that one?
So I thought I came up with that name, but I actually just had it implanted in my head. It's a name taken from a Ralph Bakshi movie called Wizards.
Oh, cool. Okay.
That's
It's
fun.
a really great animated movie that I would recommend wholeheartedly
A
to
deeply
anybody
underrated
who likes,
creator.
He made The Hobbit,
anybody
right?
who likes American animation. Yeah, he did The Hobbit.
The
The Hobbit.
great
Well, no, they
animated
did
movie.
the Lord of the Rings one. They didn't do the Hobbit. Rankin Bass was the Hobbit and Return of the King.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. Sorry, I cut you off.
You're good. But yeah, Weehawk is actually the name of an elf in Wizards.
Nice.
But he's kind of like an elf, part goblin. He's shorter than an elf that we would expect from Tolkien or something like that.
Wood elf, not a
Anyways,
high elf.
right. It's an excellent movie. Classic American animation. Ralph Bakshi is a national treasure.
Was that one rotoscoped as well, or was that different for his other?
I think parts of it were.
Okay.
But it
Completely
has
off topic. Sorry.
very unique animation and very unique designs. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic fantasy.
Oh, sick!
Ooh.
I gotta go watch this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's great. I actually also have a goblin miniature for my Age of Sigmar army that I
Nice.
based off of the poster for that movie.
Some heavy inspiration. Wow. Okay.
Just as an aside. But his personality changed a lot in between then and even just the pilot.
Yeah.
But I changed again between the pilot and the second episode because I felt he was a little bit harsh in the pilot. I wanted to kind of pull back the reins on the sort of xenophobic aspect of his personality.
Well, and that's part of why I really liked, and honestly, that's why we went. So each of us recorded a pilot where we DM'd, and the other two were playing. You
all got to listen to my version last week.
Yeah. Literally, the reason we went with mine is because I loved the characters of Weehawk and Gorfit so much and how they played with each other. So that, like, it wasn't my DMing that was why we chose that one. It's because of them. Like, they were just such a beautiful pair, and you got to see them change throughout the whole thing, and it was great.
Yeah, and so that's Weehawk. He also started off using a crossbow, but I decided I liked him having a longbow.
Hunter with
better.
a bow felt better. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, I was really happy that he got a firearm from the dwarves. So I like the idea of him being like an archer. But no, I like the idea of him being an archer, but he's got one trick up his sleeve, and that trick is blowing you away with a gunpowder sniper rifle.
Gunpowder.
Yeah.
For Gorfit, so Gorfit was actually the first ever. I believe he was the first ever tabletop character I ever played.
Wow.
Years ago.
Okay, wait, but before you delve into the story, we need to talk about the name.
Okay. It's really profound.
We never directly addressed
10 points to anyone who figured it out before this moment.
Yeah. Why did I name him Gorfit Timrick?
We mentioned it at least once in the series, but we never mentioned his last name.
So Gorfit Timrick is his full name, and if you read it out, you'll see that it is in fact Kermit the Frog backwards.
Kermit the Frog.
Kermit the Frog.
Kermit the Frog here.
I am a huge Kermit
pretty good, Cam.
Oh.
I
Muppet series?
Impressed
Muppet
myself.
season?
I am. Yeah. Muppet Minions.
Muppet Minions. Minions and Muppets.
Minions
I'll be
and
Rizzo
Minions and
or
Muppets.
Pepe the Prawn.
Where we forget season 2. We have a new idea.
They just throw away all these post-it notes.
Yeah, it's fine. You don't need them. Take
I-
your tape off the wall. Get the string down.
I'm actually a huge Kermit fanboy. Like he's the one celebrity.
Are
I
you
wanna
really?
be. I love Kermit the Frog. I love the Muppets, but I didn't. The plan was never to model it after. I just thought it was kind of funny to do Kermit the Frog backwards. But I played him in a
It's another
Pathfinder.
little green dude.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I played him as a druid in a short-lived Pathfinder campaign, and he
That's
had a
right. I remember you telling me about this. I
yeah
forgot about that.
he had a bear named Izog, so Fozzie backwards.
You
Uh,
mean you both took characters from old campaigns for this?
And reinvented them.
Wow.
He was kind of like a crazy old shaman in the Pathfinder one. So in this one, well, if you listen to the alternate pilots, in one he's a rogue, and in one he's a bard, and we played him as a bard rogue because I like the idea
brogue.
a brogue. Uh,
A rard, as Gorfit would say.
oh yeah, because that one step into rogue that gets him the extra d6 on advantage is pretty brilliant.
He was kind of our DPS for the first half of
Until
the
you got
season.
Gloomstalker.
Yeah.
Yeah, until we hit level 3 and I was able to get that extra attack.
Yeah.
But with Gorfit, I wanted to, again, I was exploring the idea of, someone raised in a pretty depraved society, discovering some sort of truth. And so I think one of the big parts of his character that was hinted at in the final episode, but was never really touched on and didn't really need to be, was when I was designing him on Hero Forge, just to get an image in my head. I gave his sword, like, he has like a cane, almost like a sword cane, but without the cane part. That's his rapier. But it
So a
has
sword.
Oh yeah, it's just sword. But he has like
He like stole the sword part of somebody's cane.
some
sword
old
a long
man's
time
sword
ago.
cane. But I imagine that he put a little like
It's new
sapphire
canon.
on the end of it, like because I wanted the idea to be like if he did have to kill somebody, he wanted them to see something really pretty before they died.
Yeah, he
Which
just
is-
glued it to it.
Oh yeah, but no. So the idea is that he survived by not being the big bulky guy. That he survived by kind of talking instead of
Mhm.
using his fists, and then that comes to a culmination in the whole series. Basically.
The whole campaign, yeah.
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah.
really explore that. It was very fun.
But I,
Right, yeah. As much as the final episode came down to a crazy big battle, a lot of what we accomplished throughout the campaign was based on talking,
and
negotiating.
part of that too is that part of that final battle. The reason for that was not because of you guys. Those was because of the actions of Tuk Tuk, not because of your
yeah,
actions.
we were cleaning up somebody else's mess, which I think also is perfect for what Weehawk and Gorfit
Yeah.
would get themselves into. They're like, "Yep, we're in charge. Oh, somebody's coming to
Yep,
tear
yeah.
down the pile.
all right, so
Yay, we won! Oh man,
Oh crap.
got a few quick questions that we can go around and do. This one is open to whoever wants to start. But what was your favorite episode of season 1?
That one's from Thelma in Louisiana.
Sure,
nice.
whatever you say.
My favorite ep.
That's
Oh,
a tricky question. I'm gonna have
okay.
to.
Let me go look
look
at our
back-
list of episodes real
Yeah.
quick. Hang on.
Well, so I think
Okay,
for-
wait, Ham. Before that, let's talk about our favorite name, which is easily episode 9, the Gobturian candidate.
Oh, I don't know. Let me look through the names. Okay.
Also, the names are the most important part of our entire podcast. We put more thought into the names than we do of any other part of the podcast.
There was definitely more
Um,
more talk about names, like in terms of like discussions back and forth and like almost debate about names than there was like
Full
about,
argument.
about any other creative decision.
We were all on board on everything else, but we disagreed so strongly on names.
I'm fond of Wheelin' and Dealin'
I did
Wheeling
like
and Dealing is very good.
and Permission to Kill, which I think is a funny, low key take on License to Kill.
I have my top 2. I do like Allergic to Pain. I'm Allergic to Pain. I think was a really good
Mm-hmm.
starter. But Raidception, I think, is just perfection.
So we
Yeah,
all have
Raid
different
Section
ones because
was good.
my top 3, starting with the Gobturian candidate, and then number 2 would be from Plan 1 to Plan A, and then my
That one
third
was
one
good.
is Taming of the Blood.
Nice. Okay.
I guess just all our names are hits because we all have different favorites.
All right. So when it comes
Tweet
to
your favorite at Minions Misfits.
when it comes to favorite episodes, I have 2. My real favorite is kind of a cop out, but I love our Star Wars special.
That was very fun.
Yeah.
I love it. I think just the simple sound editing that Cam did was really great. But I also just love. I'm a big Star Wars fan. In case if you haven't listened to this special, but
No.
it just went off the rails, and I loved that.
Yeah.
Like,
It was very worth the time that I put into highlighting every one of our in character lines and
Oh,
then
dude, the editing on that was top
putting the
notch.
filter in them.
Oh,
My favorite bits though are the ones where like one of us goes from in character to out of
yes.
character in the same sentence,
Yes.
and I just have the filter drop
just
off.
drop
when
off. I loved it so much.
well,
Oh, it
I
was
think
beautiful.
Sam does that a couple of times, and I thought it sounded great every single
Oh, it's
time.
so good.
well, in that
my
one,
favorite episode though.
I will say with the Star Wars one. Sorry, and then
You're
I'll
fine.
cap it off. What was cool is like I only plotted out very little of that episode. Like I knew that the Emperor was
Oh,
coming
of
to be,
course.
but like everything with Saro and that, like I had a table for items that were like it
Oh,
was a
he was my
D&D table,
favorite. I loved him so much.
but yet each thing like with the hand and the orb, each thing like transferred really well to Star
Yeah.
Wars. It was just super fun, and I had that was just really fun. But I also did like the whole Scrooge McDuck, like us doing the Scrooge on Tuk Tuk was probably my highlight of
That is my favorite episode.
Yes.
Scrooge McDuck.
That is what
Easily
I was
the
gonna
favorite.
say too.
It was by
Scrooge
far our best
McDuck
episode.
was
Like it's not even a competition.
Some of that between that and the finale,
Mm.
those are my two favorite episodes because of the amount of thought and consideration we put into planning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like part of the Dillon even said it, like part of the reason the finale went so smoothly for Weehawk and Gorford is because our planning was just so thorough.
Did not expect it.
I think
Scrooge McDuck is easily the best. I also have a very strong affinity for our pilot. I really enjoy the pilot.
I also really liked when they went to the village. I feel like that was a high point for Gorfit.
Yeah, that was a huge character moment.
Yeah, where he really showed his nobility, and then he went
the
downhill.
Reception episode.
Yeah. All right. Well, so next question for everyone is: if you could play any fantasy monster, like going forward, if you could pick any monster, D&D, Star Wars, whatever, and just do a season about it, like not have to worry about planning or anything, but just if you could pick literally any monster,
Okay, just for fun, not
Just
having
for
to worry
fun.
about how it would actually work.
yeah, like not logistically.
Oh, man.
Which one would you choose?
Fantasy monster,
It could be
I'm
Star
gonna be
Wars,
sci-fi
anything.
monster,
Sci-fi.
Okay.
I'm gonna be the one that says flumps.
Yes, absolutely.
What,
That would be lovely.
What are flumps?
What do you mean? What's a flump?
Oh man, you don't know what
You're
flumps
fired. We're banning you from the podcast. Season 3 is flumps.
are. Flumps are lawful good. I don't remember what class of monster they are. Hold on. Flump 5e. They live in the Underdark. They're the only lawful good creatures that live in the Underdark.
Oh,
They're lawful good aberrations. They look like the flying spaghetti monster. Basically,
Yeah, literally,
is what
they're just
they look like.
they're just a pile of string. It's great.
oh my gosh! I have to
It's
look
like,
this up.
you know Tanglia
They're-
from Pokemon. It's like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, they look a
Amazing.
little bit like that. They're like a flying saucer with a bunch of tentacles coming out the bottom of
Oh,
it.
flump is great. Love that.
Uh,
That's an
yeah.
excellent answer. Mine is much more boring than that. I would love to be like the shapeshifter from The Thing. Like something like that. I think would be
Ooh.
really interesting to play.
That would be cool.
I have like 5 answers. Like I think going back to being stormtroopers or droids from Star Wars would be really fun. But I also
Yeah,
think
B1
definitely
some
think
B1
we
battle
should revisit
droids.
that.
oh yeah. But I also think like being a thrall of a vampire could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, this one just hit me as you guys were talking about like Tangela from Star Wars. What if there was like from Pokemon? I'm sorry, like
I was gonna say, wait, what'd you say? You know Tangela from Star Wars?
I would love to play like the Pidgeys on Route 1 of like any given Star Wars game.
Yeah, just Pidgeys and Rattatas. You
Yeah.
said Star Wars again.
Sorry, Pokemon. We're just violating all the IPs. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm pretty open to a whole bunch though.
Yeah, Pidgeys and Rattatas all day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or Tribbles from Star Trek. That'd be pretty fun.
Oh, dude, I would do a triples. That would be so fun.
Just roll around the ship and multiply.
It's fine. Yeah, your goal is to just multiply as much as possible.
Although honestly, if we were doing Star Trek, we would all just be red shirts. Like that. That
Yes,
is
100%.
Yeah.
Red shirt expedition down to the planet surface. We're an away team. Here we go.
Okay, so Sorry, what?
Ah, you're
I
fine.
was gonna say, as far as droids and stormtroopers go, I definitely want to revisit 24601 and
Oh, he was such a fun character.
That was really fun to do as well. Like I enjoyed.
I really enjoyed being
yeah,
like the casually threatening, like drunk on
right.
power kind of character. That was really fun.
And I just feel like my style of characterization
It
fits
was
playing a
It
beautiful.
it
droid
it, it,
really, really
It was
well.
it was one of my
beautiful.
favorite
I'm
things.
I'm super happy with how the security the whole security breach bit went when he was just like looming over
Yeah.
uh what's his name, the
Zero.
shop, yeah, Sarah the shop owner, just being like, this is a security risk.
I've referenced the rabble line like frequently now, like in my normal
Yeah,
life
so
for things.
subduing the rabble was a joke that really had legs, I felt like.
Although for me, one of my favorite
If
moments
rabble, then subdue.
in that episode still has just got to be, and this might be tooting my own horn, but
This
Palpatine.
whole episode is tooting our own horn. It's
Oh
fine.
yeah,
Right.
but Palpatine
This is basically what we're
emitting
here to
thunder
do.
and all the Keldor thinking it's a rave.
Yes, it was so
That
good.
was
I just
really
want Dave Filoni to film that and send it to me.
Please,
Because
Dave, make it happen.
as soon as the lightning stops, just the beat drops.
It's basically an
also
Aeronauts video.
also just the idea of a, like, how it turned into basically a parody of a uh what do you call it, like a quest in a video game where you have to bodyguard
Oh yeah,
somebody.
the see, I knew until you started asking me.
Right, but just
Escort
that it
mission.
became, yeah, an escort mission, but it's an escort mission that you can't fail because you're escorting the emperor
Yeah,
and
he's
he
way more
can't be
powerful than
killed.
any of us. I
Has
loved you
plot
just
armor,
sitting with
one,
the
but it's
shield
also
going with
one
the
of the
Emperor.
yeah. One, he has plot armor. Two, he's the strongest character in the lore at that moment. Like,
Oh, that was a fun
cannot
episode,
be
man.
killed.
I do like.
Just the
We need to
dawning
do a B1.
realization.
We need to do a B1 Battle Droid episode for sure at some point.
Oh yeah, a lot of Roger Rogers.
Roger, Roger.
Roger,
Um,
Roger.
although the yeah, I'll keep going. That was really fun. Sorry, I was gonna go into another episode, but we don't have a whole lot of time.
It's okay. Yeah, we've tooted our own horn enough.
So okay, if that's like the fantasy monster, that's like you're like if again, dream monster to play. Is there any specific system that if you again, not worrying about logistics, but just a system
Mm-hmm.
to play? What would it be?
Hmm.
I need to look up the name of it real quick because I had seen it earlier. 1 second, because I don't want to get this wrong.
Well, one that I really would like to play, but I find that it would be slightly more difficult to really fit with our Minions and Misfits kind of theme, is called Frontier Scum.
Ooh.
Which, I mean, it would fit in with the Misfits part, but it's hard to fit into the Minions part, which is it actually started out as a hack of Morkborg, but it's a Western themed role playing game, and it has one of my all time favorite role playing game rules in it, which is instead of characters having armor, because it doesn't make any sense for cowboys to be wearing armor, everybody in a Western always has their hat. And the first time you get shot, you can choose to have your hat fly off of your head instead of taking any damage.
I love
And
that.
then at the end of an encounter, you make a luck roll to see if your hat survived.
It's so
and then you
good.
put
It's
it
just
back on
such a
your
good
head.
little system.
It's a genius idea.
Oh, I love that. Okay, the Dream system. I found this when doing a bunch of research on other TTRPG options, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but it's called Gubat Banwa. And it's a Southeast Asian like fantasy role playing game, specifically Filipino. And it focuses entirely on like honor and war and drama in like all of those areas and exploring that as storytelling. And it looks really cool. It's like basically honors and deaths and all that. And it looks really fun, but it'd be
That
difficult
does
to
sound super
explore
cool.
in our settings.
I think so. We mentioned this in I think the Morkborg episode, but I really like the One Ring from Free League. Like
Anything Free League, really.
oh my
Great
gosh,
company.
Yeah.
But again, it's Middle Earth that I'm in love with Middle Earth, but I don't think
Yeah,
it
we
would.
both have a problem when it comes to Middle Earth.
Yeah, like I have a lot of Middle Earth stuff. I spent way too much of my life on.
Spent too much memorabilia. I just
Anyway,
got like several different books for Christmas regarding Tolkien things. I'm probably getting a Tolkien tattoo at some point. Like, it's fine.
we can all get matching ones. It's fine. Uh,
Yes.
so
On each cheek.
it's a great system, but I think it is more lent to drama than comedy. And I also think that when it comes to the villains in Middle Earth, they're not really meant to be redeemable. It's meant to be kind of very stark epic, where it's like the bad guys are bad and the good guys are good. There are a few places where might be able to use in the future, but I
Well,
don't.
and even if it's not like like redeemable villain, there's usually sympathetic villains like Saruman who like had a fall from grace kind of thing. Like a lot of it's fall from grace when it
Right.
comes to villains,
That's
and
true. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
thinking like the in terms of minions, like orcs and Uruk-hai. Really,
Oh, sure. No, they're just
Yeah,
pure evil.
there's
Yeah.
yeah,
that's it's one of the places where a lot of more recent Tolkien
Mm-hmm.
adaptations go wrong is there's not meant to be a lot of room for shades of gray
No.
in Tolkien's world. It's very much a battle between good and evil.
Yeah. It's
but
always
it
been that.
but it is a great system. So the One Ring,
Oh yeah.
like, and I'm incorporating pieces of it into my current campaign that I'm running with some friends.
Yay.
But
Yeah. Always bring
okay,
it in.
so we're running low on time. So before we move on to the next question, I think, or do we want to talk about the next campaign just as we
We'll
end?
just have a brief mention of it. Yeah, at
Okay,
the
we'll
end
do
we'll talk
Yeah.
about what we're doing
we'll do
next.
that.
So
I think after this next question, because the next question is the
Yeah.
last one. So this is the
Perfect.
last
okay.
question. Just all right. So this is the last question. But what would you like to see us as a group do in the future? Like again,
Ah.
really,
Is this to
really.
us or the audience?
If you do, hey audience, if you
I think
have something, then please do send it. But I'm talking to more of us here who are recording. Uh, really just vision casting right now. What would you like to see us do?
Oh, I'm
Again,
so bad at vision casting. Why would you ask me this?
well, obviously, like we've done a little bit of it, and I think we kind of always had the intention of doing more of it, but that is just exploring the differences between the three of us as DMs and players.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I look forward to having, varying campaigns with varying DMs and varying styles. I think
mhm.
because it's I think we talked about this before we started recording actually. It's rare that you see a tabletop RPG podcast with an overarching theme. And that is very much something we have with Minions and Misfits is exploring these, underdeveloped, underseen characters around, or types or creatures or whatever. And so I think like while our first season was absolutely comedy, I mean there's a lot of options for exploring inside that theme, and it can take a lot of different shapes while still staying
Yeah.
true to our theme, which I think is gonna be really fun to see with all of us DMing and having a bunch of different creature types and how we explore those types. So I'm looking forward to the variety and seeing branching into dipping our toes into other genre while maintaining our same core.
Mhm.
I think what we will end up seeing with some of our what we're doing next. I mean, we're basically every season kind of has to end with either redemption or damnation. And I think that's going to be really interesting because we're dealing with traditionally a lot of characters who are traditionally portrayed as evil, and so either they will be redeemed like Weehawk or Gorfit, or they're going to be and terribly like the Morkborg, which I think is going to be really interesting and dealing with what
Where do we
really,
end?
yeah, where do we
Right.
where do we end and what redeems and
Yeah,
what damns. And I think that's a cool
Mhm.
question that,
it's a very good question.
yeah, which is at the heart of a lot of the stories we're going to be telling, but we're going to
Yeah.
soak that in a whole bunch of humor.
Yeah.
But
Seeing as this is a behind the scenes episode, we should mention this as well. Part of the original idea for this podcast was that at the end of the season, we would just have a group of adventurers come through and wipe like everybody out because there's just the group you don't even have a second thought about. But when it came down to it, we got so attached to Gorfit and Weehawk that we're just like,
Yeah.
we can't. So we had a
And
redemption story
yeah,
and I
instead.
think if Weehawk and Gorfit had behaved more
Goblin-y.
like badly, yeah, more less redeemably, I
Yes.
think that would have been a good ending for us
It
to
didn't fit with how we were redeeming them though, and so we decided not to
yeah.
go with that.
yeah.
If they
But that
had
was the original thought. So
yeah, I don't think there was ever a timeline in which Gorfit and Weehawk weren't going to grow as characters throughout
hmm
this this because that's just
That was
the
our
kind
whole
of
thought
players.
behind it. Yeah.
That's the kind of players we are. That's the kind of people we are.
That being said,
And
not all of them
ultimately,
will be
that's the
redeemed.
right. And ultimately, that's the kind of content we wanted to put out there, at least for this first season.
Yeah.
Um,
I do look forward to exploring. Yeah, each season, will the characters grow or will they, fall back even farther? Will they backslide?
It is a very interesting dichotomy that we are who we are, trying to tell the stories we're trying to tell, all with characters who start out basically evil.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of
right.
the beauty of role playing is you stepping into other shoes that aren't yours.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I had one more thing I was going to bring up
please.
on the subject of the three of us trading DM and player duties. Is that starting off, I wasn't super sure about the way things were going to go with just a DM and two players, which is why I was particularly insistent on having guest stars, which ended up being Becca playing as
Yeah,
Old
one.
Fee in
Yeah.
the middle two episodes.
Shout out to Becca.
Um, yeah, shout
Yeah,
out to
thank you,
Becca. She
Becca,
was
for
great.
joining us. Sorry you couldn't join us on
Um,
more, but
um, but as things went on, I felt like having two players and a DM made the DM feel more like a player than just a
Yep.
DM,
Yeah.
yeah. The
which
interactions
I
felt really good.
and I feel like that's something very different than what you get from most actual play RPGs, where you have
That's very true.
3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 players. There's fewer voices drowning each other out. First of all, it's easier to tell who's playing who, but it
And to edit.
also helps. It also helps build our 3 chemistry to where,
Yeah, we definitely found
which
a
was
rhythm.
actually an early concern, I think, of Sam's, was that trading DM duties might
Oh, yeah.
interrupt the chemistry between the players from season to season. But I think it ended up doing the opposite, in that having so few people made it so that our chemistry will pretty much be preserved regardless of who is in what seat
Yeah, I feel
Absolutely.
like
going
it definitely
forward.
feels like it's obviously different because everyone has their own different style of DMing, but our chemistry
Yeah,
remains the same, which I think has been a really
yeah,
strong suit of this whole podcast.
Yeah, because I think one thing, and not trying to throw any other podcast under the bus, but a lot of times, when a long
Yeah,
running and
listen up,
popular,
Mad Mercer.
we're gunning for you.
don't hurt me. Um, no, but a lot of times, if you listen to any tabletop podcast,
Critical Role, for instance.
okay, stop. They're literally the one exception to this rule where they'll be
I know. That's why I'm doing
oh,
it.
but you'll have like one DM for like the first season, which gets really popular and it's really long, and then it ends and they switch to one of their co-hosts, and there's always a little bit of a diminish, and I don't feel like that's happened with us, which has been really cool. I think part of that is because we're flipping it so often where you don't get comfortable with one. I think every time we've kind of done a special, I've liked our specials,
He's
and
talking about the Adventure Zone graduation.
oof. Well, you can go on and fight the McElroys. I'm gonna be sitting over here.
You wouldn't even pronounce their name right.
Oh, McElroys.
Yeah.
Sorry, McElroys. Whatever.
We're coming
Um,
for all of you.
no, but it's happened with several that I've listened to, and
No, it has.
again,
It's a consistent problem.
yeah, and again, not throwing hate. I'm just saying that I was concerned about that, and I'm not as concerned right now, which is nice.
It's very good. Also,
Yeah,
the Adventure
and
Zone Steeplechase with Justin DMing is extremely good.
I have not listened to that yet. I will check that one
Highly
out.
recommend. Go check it out.
yeah,
Check out ours, but also
yeah.
check out theirs.
Let's do like finish off this
Yeah, recommending
sort
some
of
other.
portion
Yeah.
with recommending
Yeah,
some
what's
other
influenced us?
actual play content that
Ooh,
we like.
yeah, I think,
Yeah,
and oh, pair onto that, and again, we're at 45 minutes, so we got to wrap
that's
up
fine.
soon.
No one cares.
But I will say this: if you can insert while you're recommending any DMs who have inspired you, or GMs who have inspired you or helped influence your gameplay that can be listened to on the interwebs, you can also kind of point that out. Uh, I don't know. I always like to shout out to those who have kind of helped me learn to be a better DM. I guess if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
My number one influence is Brennan Lee Mulligan. 100%. That
Mm-hmm.
guy is insane. I have no idea how he does what he does. His NPCs have been the inspiration for like how I create characters because they're always so memorable. And yeah, I don't know how he does anything that he does. He is working with Dimension 20 is the show that he does. If you want to go check him out, incredible DM. Seems like a pretty cool guy. Wish I could meet him someday. Good times.
One of my biggest inspirations, at least podcast wise, is a good friend of mine from way back when I first started getting into the world of nerddom. His name's Logan Jenkins. You can find him on Twitter under that name, but he co-hosts a podcast called VRE, or Very Random Encounters, where every season they choose a game and they randomly generate as much of the story characters world as they can using random tables, and then they play that out and they see where it goes. And
That's fun.
I got a lot of my sort of style I feel like I take from him, although a lot of my style is kind of self-taught as well. But some of the ideas that I brought with me into this project with you guys, I got from them, like rotating DMs and changing games and changing subjects with each season.
Very nice.
So I definitely recommend that you listen to Very Random Encounters because those guys are great.
Yay.
Yeah. I think for me, I have a short laundry list. But no, I first really got into these types of podcasts because of You Meet in a Tavern, which is still running. They're doing
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually a supporter, so you can actually hear my name whenever they list those out. But so that was a really big influence. But I think also Matt Colville from MCDM, I'm like now a faithful listener. But also one that goes really under the radar, but massively underrated. And I think I learned a lot from this guy. Was Tom McGee from Dum Dums and Dragons.
Okay, I don't even know this one. I'm gonna have to check this out.
Oh yeah, so it's a company called Dum Dums and Dice, and they do a bunch of different ones. But I think Tom McGee DMs most of them. But he is really fantastic at incorporating jokes into the story, not in terms of like making the story a joke, but if someone makes a aside, that'll be built in, and
I love that.
It becomes something really cool. It kind of happened with this campaign, but he's a really talented DM. I really admire him. But yeah, so
plus, check all those cool people out.
please do.
Oh, and for an individual episode of something that I'm particularly fond of, Critical Role did a one-shot
Oh, they have
Call
enough
of
viewers.
Cthulhu RPG that is, well, so there's not a lot of quality horror RPG actual plays.
That's true.
And that one shot of Call of Cthulhu that
I haven't
they
heard this.
did is fantastic.
Oh,
It's
you'll have
set
to link
in
me
the it's set in the Crystal Palace when it's still like before it burned down.
Oh, the guy with the mohawk DMs it, right?
Yeah, I forgot what his name is. Unfortunately, I don't
Taliesin,
listen to a lot of Critical Role.
Taliesin Jaffrey or something like that.
That doesn't sound like a
Yes.
real name.
I think that's something in Game of Thrones name. It's funny because I've never seen Game of Thrones. Taliesin something.
I almost forgot the most important inspiration to my style of writing and my style of comedy, and that is Acquisitions Incorporated.
Yes.
Chris Perkins,
the Penny Arcade
the man.
guys.
A plus.
Chris Perkins, Mike Trahulik, Jerry Holkins from those guys from Penny Arcade. Their style of comedy has been
I love it. Yeah.
absolutely inspirational to me in the way that I write and improvise even.
Chris Perkins taught me one really important and obvious thing about DMing, and that is that when you are conveying information through a character, you don't have to always convey it in the voice of that character, which sounds really obvious, but as a less experienced DM, I would try to always do that, and it got really annoying. But then Chris Perkins would just be like, "Oh," and then he also says, and then he just explains stuff. Which,
yeah, right. He tells you such and such.
If Chris Perkins can do this, so can I.
Yeah.
I'm not copping out.
I have been a long time listener of Acquisitions Incorporated content.
Highly recommend.
Every single player they've ever had has been hilarious. They like way back when they first started, they had Will Wheaton playing with them.
Oh, did they
a
really?
lot. Yes.
That's awesome.
His character actually like died really early on, and so
Spoilers.
they would constantly like have like memorials to him.
I love that. But yeah, so there's our inspirations. Please check all of them out if you have time.
But please,
just do it anyway.
Oh yeah. But please do also recommend us to your friends. We hope we inspire you.
Yeah, as
Um,
Sam has a
Yes.
problem listening to podcasts all day, so will be imparted onto you with all our new recommendations.
oh yeah,
Right. Hopefully, we are the gift that keeps on giving.
yeah. But if you enjoy us, please do tell us to your friends about us, like us, follow us, do all those good things. That really is a help to us.
Because we ain't done yet, folks.
No.
Season 2 is a coming.
Yeah. Season 2's a coming, and here's a sneak peek. First off, the DM will be me,
Da-da-da-da.
Cam.
Oh.
You guys gotta.
Wait,
you guys,
what? No kidding.
I've been
Oh,
fired.
okay. Everybody's disappointed. Everybody turned off this episode. as soon
Everyone,
as I
yeah,
said that.
watch our viewership numbers drop immediately right there.
But you guys got a little sneak peek of my style in my
Make
pilot
big.
last week.
And Morkboard.
And
And
Morkborg.
Morkborg, yes. Which I like. Looking back, I liked my job the job that I did on the pilot better than
We're always the
job I
most
did on
critical
the
of our own
Morkborg.
work. Like,
But-
I am never satisfied. Like, fun story, I've only listened to one full episode of our podcast, and it was the Star Wars episode.
I've listened to every episode. Some of them
I
twice
don't like
because
hearing
I liked
myself.
some of the bits that we had. I majored in broadcasting, so I got used to listening to myself
That
a
must
long
be
time
nice.
ago.
But season 2.
But the
No, I don't mean
season
my
2
like voice. I like my voice. I don't like hearing my own work because I'm never satisfied.
The GM will be me. The system will be Into the Odd
Yes.
by, let me find
Oh, yeah,
the
that's by
creator's name.
Chris McDowell.
Chris McDowell. Yes, with art by Johan Noor, who is also the creator of Morkborg.
Also from Free League Publishing.
Published, yes,
Sponsor
published by Free
us.
League. Um,
Please.
it
I think
is
we need
a
more than 60
rules light.
viewers to get sponsors.
Hey.
It is a great
shut
rules
up.
light system that I think will sort of clear the way for our setting,
Yeah.
which I'm very excited about.
I'm so excited.
It is Neverland from
Yes.
the Peter Pan stories.
Not
Thanks
Michael
to a
Jackson's Ranch.
fantastic,
It'll be a much different story.
Thanks to a fantastic book by Andrew Kolb, who wrote both a Neverland setting book and an Oz setting book, which we may explore sometime in the future. Here's hoping. These gentlemen, Sam and Dillon, will be playing some. We're kind of combining two Minions and Misfits. Actually, they're going to be playing pirates who are also sometimes skeletons.
Whoa.
Part-time.
Part-time skeleton. Full-time pirate.
Some minions of the well-known, infamous Captain Hook. So
Captain
you guys
James
have that to look
T.
forward to.
Hook.
Next week we'll likely publish Sam's pilot from the start of
The
season
alternate
1.
pilot, yeah.
Yes. Last week you guys heard what would things have been like if Gorfit had never met Weehawk. And now you'll get to listen and see what would have happened if Weehawk had never met Gorfit.
Oh.
Spoiler alert, Osnick is in both of those things.
But yeah, so please do tune in. We'll be releasing new episodes of Season 2 coming very, very soon. So regarding Season 2, you may have noticed that we're obviously shifting to a different game, Into the Odd. Or is that what the system's called?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're shifting to that, which has been the plan for a while. But we also, if we're just being honest, are waiting to see what Wizards of the Coast says about their OGL, which affects how creators like us can publish D&D stuff. And, we strongly believe that, the culture of Dungeons and Dragons for the past 20 years has been to let third-party creators like us do what we want to do, and that actually helps the gaming community as a whole. And so we really would hate to see that end because one company wants to, make more money. And so
Creators much more successful than us, to be more specific.
Oh yeah. We're not making anyone money. We're losing ourselves money. But we may return to D&D in the future, but for right now
I'm
we
sure
are
will
waiting.
at some point.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we are waiting to see what the results of that are, and if you want more info on that, just Google
Right.
OGL
Yeah.
and you'll find a whole lot.
Yeah, but there's lots
yeah.
and lots of
Type it
other
into
RPGs out
YouTube.
there.
And just start watching videos.
Yeah, there's lots of information regarding the OGL. There's tons of other RPGs. Like, we're gonna have a blast with everything around. So
But one of the big pros to using a new system is if you look at D&D, it's structured so that everything culminates in a battle. Your characters
Yeah.
are leveled up for a battle. And if you've been listening to us, really fighting is not a huge part of our podcast.
Well, and that was deliberate on my front too as a DM,
Yeah.
because there's nothing worse than listening to D&D combat on a podcast.
It's the worst.
That's part of what I didn't like as much about
The finale.
Morkborg. No, Morkborg is because the first combat took about 2 or 3 times longer than it needed to because you guys' rolls were so bad.
No, we were
It's
rolling like garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like who
No
wants
offense meant to
the
garbage.
who wants the story to grind to a halt because 2 people can't hit each other in a
Yeah,
combat?
for sure. We're a narrative based thing. We're not a combat based. And again, combat's great when you're like at a table on a grid with minis, but when you're just listening to an audio format, it sucks, guys. It sucks.
So anyway, these new systems will allow us to kind of experiment with that, and we would love your feedback as listeners. As even though there are not a whole lot of you, but the ones that we do have, we're super grateful for.
You're starting to sound desperate with these reaching outs.
I
Contact
know.
us, please.
I know. Support us. Make us a Patreon and pay us. No, please.
Wait, make us a Patreon?
We are supposed to do that part.
No, but thank you to everyone who
I don't
listens.
think Sam knows how this works.
No. I want the monies. No,
We're gonna have to have another production meeting about this.
Yeah, we're gonna have another talk.
we should have focused less on episode titles and more on finances.
Yeah.
I know. What Sam is saying is exactly right. Like, we love all of you guys, and we want to, eat some vegetables with our meat. D&D is the first thing that everybody thinks of when they think of a tabletop RPG, and part of what we want to do is broaden our horizons and broaden you guys' horizons
too,
as listeners. We want to show you new games you could play. There's a famous bit of online advice regarding D&D that I like to give out, is that anytime somebody starts complaining about something regarding D&D, you simply respond with, "Have you tried not playing D&D?"
Yeah. Well, and part of the exploration of all this has been, I've been finding so many cool games because of this too. So like, there's just so much out there. Oh, it's gonna be so much fun.
We've named at least 5 of them.
Yeah, easily
in this very episode. But no, we love you guys, and we're thankful to all of you for listening.
Yeah, get ready for more fun stuff.
We are super excited to be taking this journey with you guys. Thank you again for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.